Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read Deconstructing Ants, Rock Coral, Tissues, the Exposition Gun, and Shadows Through the Window. Now, if I were to go based off of last episode, then in this one, I rot will probably be Keter since it's only one word. But for this episode, in the meantime, we're going to be doing Unnatural Hot Spring, Unpredictable Pogo Stick, Trauma Harvester, I Rot, and Clockwork Skull. So, like I said, if I want to go based off of last episode, I Rot will be Keter. But because of the fact that I feel like that, it's probably going to be the Unpredictable Pogo Stick. But let's check out that hot spring and see if it's just as weird as the last hot spring. It's Euclid, and it's pretty, but it's probably messed up. The property containing 676 is owned by the Foundation under the guise of Blank Inc., a shell corporation. It is closed to the public, and posted signs indicate that the area is a hazardous material storage facility. Under no circumstances is the flow of water into 676 to be interrupted. Backup tanks of water to be used to supplement the stream's flow in the case of an obstruction. Vegetation is kept clear in a 10-meter channel along the course of the stream to prevent unanticipated interruptions. SCP-676 is a hot spring and an associated 7-kilometer-long stream located in the hills outside of Blank. They could have put the period there, but okay. When it was discovered by the Foundation, the basin of the spring was approximately 2 meters wide, but it has since been expanded to over 90 meters in diameter. I wonder why they did that. The stream stretches from the Blank River to the hot spring. Although the spring is 750 meters above the river, water in the stream flows uphill from the river to the basin. Its temperature begins at an ambient 22 degrees Celsius at the river and gradually rises as the stream ascends, reaching 82 degrees Celsius as it enters the spring. Water removed from the stream exhibits no atypical properties and flows downhill normally if placed on an incline. Water added directly to the stream moves against gravity, as does any detritus carried by the flow, or in the flow. Despite being continuously fed by the stream, the water level in the basin remains constant, suggesting that it drains into the bedrock below. The water in the basin is between 81 and 84 degrees Celsius as measured by the IR sensor. More direct means of assessing the temperature cannot be used, as any object placed in the water disintegrates. What? Disintegrates. Small items and organisms caught up in the stream are continuously deposited and dissolved in the hot spring. The reason for this is not known. In most cases, it does not affect the walls of the basin, see test log 1. All tested materials introduced into the spring begin to fall apart immediately, dissolving completely within a few seconds. Dyes and radioactively labeled markers disappear as well, suggesting that the process occurs below the chemical level. As a result, it has proven impossible to take and retain samples from the basin, and it is unknown if the fluid is water or another colorless liquid compound. Optical and sonic means of probing 676 have mapped it deep underground, but have not located a destination point. Analysis of the data indicates that the surrounding bedrock is abnormally soft. This may be related to the high incidence of localized earthquakes detected in the area and the periodic shifting of 676's subterranean channels. Experiment log. Testing the effect of withholding the flow of water to 676. The water feeding 676 was blocked at the junction of the stream and the river. The last of the water drained into the basin at 1324.2 local. For 3 hours there was no response and the water level remained constant. At 1641.57, the walls of the basin began to disintegrate, widening the aperture steadily. This proceeded for 12 minutes, at which time the supervising researchers decided to unblock the stream. By the time the flow was restored at 1803.19, the basin had grown in diameter by 4,000%, swallowing 4 structures and the majority of on-site investigative equipment. No lives were lost. Since the incident, localized seismic activity has intensified and the stream's flow has increased by a factor of 200. Containment procedures were updated and 676's object class was elevated to Euclid. So they didn't grow it on purpose, it just got like that because when they blocked it off, they started dissolving the walls. Okay. Next up is the Unpredictable Pogo Stick, which is safe. Okay, cool. So that still leaves room for I-Rot to be the Keter one here if there is one. 677 is currently in the vicinity of Saturn's orbit. Due to its attraction to Earth, it is expected to land back on the planet by year 2000 something. Wait. What? At least one telescope will be trained on 677 to monitor its movement. When re-entry occurs, a team will be dispatched to recover the object, whereupon it will be dismantled and returned to its storage locker at Site Blank. 677 is a silver Blank brand pogo stick that has significantly visible wear. Etched onto the side is an engraving reading for Mike. Happy travels! Its frame appears to be indestructible by all normal means, so it can be dismantled. The spring itself, oddly, is easily broken, though it can be replaced with any spring that will fit around the shaft. The type of spring used appears to have no effect on its mechanics as so long as it is unbroken. When used, 677 will immediately jump to unpredictable heights and speeds regardless of the degree of power applied to the jump. Various heights ranging from 2 centimeters upwards have been recorded, and the highest obtained speeds to date, based on calculations of its current trajectory, is blank. Maximum obtainable speed is unknown. Additionally, due to some unknown mechanics, 677 always lands within blank meters of its original launch position regardless of the time, direction, or speed of its trajectory. So it says, it used to say recreational use of 677 is strictly prohibited, and this is note, there was a reason for that warning, Dr. Mentha recorded after Incident 6840034X. With the permission of Agent Blank personnel, 2677 removed the Pogo from containment and assembled it, claiming that he was going to break the world record for extreme Pogo. After donning a parachute and attaching several restraining devices between him and 677, they began jumping. After 8 such jumps of varying heights, it immediately shot into the air, breaking its restraints and data expunged. They were given medical treatment and severely disciplined, and that's probably why it's out somewhere by Saturn now. Well, and it will return in the year 2000 something. It doesn't say when they lost it. So, Trauma Harvester is safe, but doesn't look safe. 678 is to be contained in a secure lockbox on site in a container rated for security against at least level 2 attempted containment breaches. Guards posted to guard 678 should not be aware of what they are guarding, as recovery attempts are a risk. It poses no threat of escape at this time, but if the container is ruptured or 678 is removed for any reason, no personnel are to make unshielded contact with it. SCP-678 is a small statuette of a sleeping angel, as opposed to a weeping angel, that displays no unusual characteristics upon visual inspection. Upon unshielded physical contact with 678, however, it excises highly traumatic events from the subject's memory immediately, leaving a blank period in the subject's recollections of the past. This function is currently being evaluated for use as a new grade of amnestic, but the further effects of it render it unsuitable for use at this time. The process of memory removal utilized by 678 is damaging to the subject, however, and in the week following contact with it, the subject's mind continues to erode. The erosion does not stop, but it reaches a critical point at any time from 6 to 9 days after initial contact, when the autonomous abilities of the brain to regulate heartbeat, breathing, and other homeostatic effects is eradicated. At this point, the subject typically dies of asphyxiation. Autopsy reveals no physical damage to the brain, and the method utilized by 678 is currently unknown. After an event such as this, it alters shape, the statuette shifting to a standing position with its eyes open and teeth clenched. The next unshielded contact with 678 will cause the transference of the memories initially erased to the subject currently touching it, and it will revert to its standard form. Basically, it breaks their brain and just disintegrates their brain capacity until they forget how breathing works, and then they die. Cool? I suppose. Subjects interviewed during the decay process describe themselves as fearful but cannot identify the source of the fear. As their personal sense of identity disintegrates, they continue to voice a nameless terror as long as they retain the capability of speech, which is gone by the 2nd to 3rd day. Those informed of their impending death seem unconcerned by it if they understand it at all, instead continuing to complain of a problem that they can't figure out. Staff psychologists suspect this communication issue was due to both the subject's loss of mental faculties combined with an inability to easily express the ongoing nature of the damages to the subject. After the subject's capability of speech is gone, they typically retreat to a corner when permitted to do so, clawing at their head intermittently for approximately a day before lapsing into a coma until their death. SCP-678 was taken from a Mr. Blankety Blank upon his apprehension by Foundation personnel. Blank was a traveling chaplain who was visiting veterans at mission administration hospitals across the eastern United States and offering counseling to any willing to speak to him. During these counseling sessions, he would encourage the subject in any variety of ways to come into contact with 678. An item which he only handled with a pair of gloves he wore specifically for this purpose. Blank would wrap up his counseling session shortly afterwards and leave the hospital. Interrogation reports indicate that Blank, a citizen of Belgium and suspected patron of Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, appears to have been using the device to harvest these experiences for personal amusement. They have been remanded to Psychological Ward 14 for evaluation, his termination pending background check, and review of possible value to the Foundation as a bargaining tool. Note: nix the value check, move Mr. Blank's termination date up. He's a nasty piece of work, and I don't trust anyone to not try and work around pre-release amnesties that we give him. Better just shut him up for good, 05 blank. And that brings us to Irot. Ahaha! I called it! Let me drink some water since my throat seems to be trying to do the stop. Samples of SCP-679 should be contained in sealed glass vials with the temperatures kept at 25 degrees Celsius. Infected subjects should be kept restrained in a sterile environment. All personnel handling samples or subjects should wear Class A hazmat suits. Any material or infected subjects removed from containment should be incinerated immediately. To prevent potential cross-contamination, at no point should samples of 679 and SCP-1077 be stored at the same facility. SCP-679 is a fungal infection of previously unknown Aspergillus species. It was discovered among the local homeless population in Blank, Florida. It is highly infectious through direct contact with the fungus, though other means of transmission have not been ruled out. In early stages, subjects complain of entoptic phenomena. Subjects report seeing tiny bright dots moving rapidly in their field of vision. This is especially prevalent when sneezing or looking into strong blue light. After approximately 1 week from initial exposure, the sclera turns black. The subject loses vision at this time, becoming entirely blind. Within a day of this, small ulcerations appear in the corners of the eyes. This causes the vitreous humor to begin leaking out, having the appearance of thick black tears. Mycelia are also pushed through the ulcerations. Each mycelium resembles a thin white thread coated with slime, reaching as long as 25 centimeters. As the ulcerations widen and more of the humor leaks out, more mycelia appear. At this stage, the eye begins to rot entirely, a process sped up by the fungus. However, it seems to protect the rest of the eye socket and the nerve, preventing infection by other pathogens in 80 to 90% of test subjects. By the time the eyes have gone entirely, the sockets are filled with the fungus, with a thick mass of mycelia hanging from the empty sockets. This process takes approximately 2 weeks from the time the ulcerations appear. Once the eyes are completely gone, mycelia invade the sinuses, where they trigger increased mucus production, which the fungus appears to feed upon. At this stage, the fungus becomes mobile, the individual threads gaining motility. They move around the subject's face in seemingly random patterns. Once the fungus begins moving on its own, subjects report their vision returning. The fungus appears to have photosensitive cells, as well as a currently poorly understood ability to interface with the optic nerve. Subjects describe normal and in some cases improved eyesight, except for a much wider field of vision. However, when a human with apparently normal eyes enters their field of vision, subjects experience visual hallucinations, fires, dangerous animals, sudden tilts on the floor, that seem designed to drive them in the direction of the uninfected. Once they are in range, the mycelia reach out to touch the infected human's eyes. This appears to be a reproductive strategy for the fungus. Curing the condition has so far been possible only in the earliest stages of infection. Once the sclera changes, the only treatment is surgical intervention and cauterization of all tissue in the socket and sinuses. Additional test subjects to explore the life cycle and reproduction of 679 are requested. Okay. So their eyes are gone and there's just, like, fungus arm things sticking out of the eye sockets. But I called that! Now it's time for the Clockwork Skull. Which is safe, if not freaky looking. Because of its usefulness as a possible diagnostic tool, 680 is to be kept at Containment Site 76 and Storage Locker 76 blank. Additionally, to prevent accidental activation and subsequent waiting periods of 680, the SCP must remain at least 10 meters away from all but mechanically static machinery. Use of 680 on a subject must be approved by Level 3 personnel. SCP-681 is a slate sculpture in the form of a human skull missing its mandible, with a mass of approximately 7.5 kilograms. The sculpture itself does not appear to be hollow, as all orifices have been filled with a presently unknown black substance that rates 9.6 on the Mohs scale of mineral hardness. Beyond its improbably high durability, the skull itself appears to have no particularly unusual properties. Resting on top of 681, however, is 2. This 2 appears to be a set of mineral appraisal tools connected to a large 6cm eyepiece, which is in turn connected to a bronze head strap. Among said tools are a pair of lens adjustment knobs, a series of additional magnifying glasses, a tungsten filament with no otherwise known properties, and various other devices. Craftsmanship appears to be of a late 19th century Germanic design, though since 680 was discovered in blank Brazil, no specific design or influences are easily named. 2 has no particular effect when removed from the 1 and tested with disposable dudes or other personnel, though said test subjects describe a feeling of motion sickness and general irritability afterwards. Whenever a mechanical item of sufficient complexity is placed approximately half a meter in front of the assembled 680, however, several of the tools on 2 begin to move on their own accord and set themselves to a unique setting seemingly tuned for the object in question. Furthermore, the filament will become increasingly warm, eventually growing physically hot. The rest of 1 and 2 will become otherwise temporarily inert. After a period of approximately 3 minutes, a series of clicks will emit from various parts of 680. 4 sources of clicking have been discerned, from both eyepiece's adjusters, from the additional magnifiers, and from within one's right unblocked eye socket. This will continue until the filament reaches a maximum temperature of blank, after which all action ceases and the skull powers down for a period of approximately 3 hours. Studies performed on 680 have revealed that the clicks emitted by the SCP are actually messages communicated in Morse code describing the studied item's properties, including make, purported original assembler or team, function, and other items. Furthermore, particular pieces of study seem to come consistently from certain points of the SCP. For example, statistical components and component inquiries such as make, model, and craftsmanship are reported by the lens adjustment knobs. Suggestions as to the material composition of the object are reported by the magnifiers, and particularly unusual properties are reported by the eye socket. Material composition data gathered by 680 appears to be largely statistical, giving a list of item materials corresponding to 80 reported out of the first 92 elements of the periodic table. Materials are usually given in the greatest percentage of presence, and subsequent spectral analysis of said objects usually confirms 680's analysis to within 10%, with notable deviations see Addendum 2, which is here. Okay. Notes about specific make of the object study match surprisingly precisely with objects of known origin, such as with SCP Blank, where not only the development team was named, but also the leader's name and the SCP's approximate date of creation. Unusual notes made by the eye socket are much less precise than the rest of the notes, and usually take on a conciliatory nature. Many times, especially with studied SCPs, the messages will be generally what has been studied, but will also give general comments that often lead to a better overall understanding of other SCP's behavior. As such, however, much of its empirical data is either frustratingly vague or presented in a riddle. Dr. Mentha, here they are again, has shaped the theory that this SCP's general notes do not actually come from the SCP studying the material at hand, but instead performs a quick survey of previously conducted research and paraphrases it. No explanation for how it obtains this information, however, has been discovered, and Dr. Mentha is reminded that he must be more explicit in said theory so that they can at least be verifiable. I think he was also the Pogo stick guy. Addendum 2, once I finish getting something out of my eye, apologies. Or Addendum 1. SCP-680 must be presented directly to the object to be studied. A reproduction of the object at best will give information on the model or display of the object in question. Similarly, holding 680 to a mirror, unless said mirror has sufficiently SCP quality characteristics, will yield no information from 680. SCP-680 appears only to activate when presented with sufficiently mechanical objects. Biological objects elicit no response from the SCP, and if a mechanical object has biological components, it will completely ignore those qualities. Here, mechanical is used to describe objects with at least blank moving parts within its structure. So they could probably use this to understand some of the stranger SCPs, like that one mannequin lady. So I was considering extending the episode since it didn't even hit 20 minutes, but seeing as I'm having some difficulty with my throat staying clear, I should probably stop while I'm ahead. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke, this is episode 145 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki, and the next episode we'll be reading The Hostile Helium, The Hard to Destroy Reptile, finally, Refrigerator Art, The Caretaker, and The Non-Bottomless Pit, whatever that means. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later!